Welcome back to the League of Legends matchup series. In this video we'll be going over a couple things for the character Darius in the top lane. Starting off, we'll briefly go over Darius' runes and mastery pages, then we'll move on to a standard itemization path for him. At the end of this video we'll touch on his pros and cons. The following video after this will provide in-depth matchups against specific characters, as well as specific build paths for those matchups. If you're new to Darius, take a look at our basic introduction to his ability kit linked below. Let's tackle his runes and masteries real quick. Let's start off with his runes. For his 9 marks, he wants greater marks of attack damage. For his 9 seals, he wants to fill them with greater seals of armor. For all of his glyphs, go with greater marks of magic resist. Greater marks of scaling magic resist is also an option if that's what you would prefer. Lastly, for his quintessences, go with greater quints of attack damage. This is the basic survival and damage rune set for Darius, so he can bully his lane as well as stay alive. Let's jump into his masteries real quick. This is a mastery page that I use for Darius at all times. Nothing changes, and it's a standard brawler type, 21 offense and 9 defense. I'm not going to give a complete breakdown with reasoning on why points are where. It'll just eat up way too much time for this video. However, if you would like a full reason as to why I take points where I do, there's a guide linked below, and there's a full explanation inside of that guide. Now that those two are covered, let's jump right into a very standard build path for Darius. The most common start in most matchups would be a crystalline flask, 3 health pots, and your vision ward. The flask health pot start gives Darius the ability to not only consistently output harass with his Q, but stay healthy enough to not be sent back to spawn early. This remains true even against other lane bullies such as Pantheon, who's known for outputting immense amounts of early game damage. Typically, Darius' main intention is to be able to stay in lane and maintain it long enough so he can buy a pickaxe immediately on his first back. It's rare that on your first back you'll only have enough gold for a pickaxe, so with whatever is left over after buying your pickaxe, make a decision based off of how laning is going. If you're winning and have enough to buy another part of Tiamat, such as your longsword, and feel confident in your lane, then go for it. That decision may secure you an earlier kill in lane. If the lane was kinda even, or you don't feel confident in the specific fight, instead of getting another damage portion of Tiamat, grab a couple health pots. Staying alive in lane far outweighs securing a kill at this point in the game. Whether you decided to buy health pots or more damage with your first back, you should still see a drastic increase in damage, and even if your ult doesn't secure the kill, sometimes your passive will do it for you. At your second back, buy Tiamat. This will give Darius even higher trade potential as well as wave clear when it's needed. Very few champions during the laning phase can take a toe-to-toe fight with Darius if he has this Tiamat. Even if a trade looked even as soon as the fighting ends, remember that they're still going to bleed out for another 5 seconds after fighting Darius. Once your Tiamat is bought, your early game damage is secure. You should really be looking into getting boots. Ninja Tabi and Mercury's treads are the 2 best boots for Darius. We'll go over both of these one by one, but we'll start with Ninja Tabi. Ninja Tabi is normally your number 1 choice. It gives you 10% damage reduction against auto attacks as well as 25 armor, which can really help against ADCs later in the game. Ninja Tabi is not always the boot of choice for Darius. If you're up against a team that has a lot of crowd control, you're going to want to get Mercury's treads over Ninja Tabi. Magic resist from treads as well as the tenacity will keep you alive and mobile against casters. So I strongly advise if the other team has a lot of slow snares and stuns in their arsenal, that you pick up Mercury's treads instead of Ninja Tabi. No matter what pair of boots you chose, you should be enchanting Alacrity on them almost immediately. The 20 run speed gives you an advantage to position faster, as well as run away if things are getting too intense for Darius. At this point, with Tiamat and your tier 2 boots, laning phase should be over or very close to over. You'll want to start building your phage and getting your Eternity Force. Once you have your phage, you should be helping your team with other objectives. The next item you want to buy though is Sheen. After you finish Sheen, complete your Trinity Force. This is going to be another damage spike for Darius as well as a jump in his movement speed. At this point, with Trinity and Tiamat finished, your damage is very high, and if anybody overextends at any point, you should really be able to secure a kill. Your chase potential and ability to execute is also obnoxious at this point in the game. The 2 main issues right now is that you aren't tanky, so you can be blown up fairly easily. You also don't have any form of health regen, but we can fix that right now by turning your Tiamat into a Ravenous Hydra. Once you purchase your Ravenous Hydra, you should sell your Crystalline Flask. It no longer serves its purpose of regenning anything for you. You should also be looking to upgrade your trinket if you have not already done so. With Trinity and Hydra, your damage is really going to shine, but it's also going to be very clear that you aren't tanky, and 1v2ing on equal grounds is going to be hard purely because of your shortage in the health, armor, and magic resist department. To combat this, we'll be buying a Randuin's next. You can break down Randuin's into two different sections, one being the Giant's Belt, which is health, and the other being Warden's Mail, which is a passive that slows opposing champions' auto attacks when you're hit, as well as 45 armor. Typically, the Giant's Belt is the first buy, as it helps against both AD and AP champions. Once you have the gold, get your Warden's Mail next, and that's going to help you against ADCs as well as any auto attack champions that are on the map. Once you get your next 800 gold, finish your Randuin's. This is going to give you a noticeable spike in armor as well as health. Randuin's active effect also causes an AoE slow around your character, which can be incredibly useful when chasing down squishies. With Randuin's finished, you're pretty tanky against AD characters, but you'll want to get a Banshees next for casters. If you have to break it into parts, just get your Spectral Cowl first, but you should be buying Banshees as soon as you can after Randuin's. With Banshees completed, you're looking at your final item. Normally a game won't last this long, and if it does, it's a scary point where even tanks are getting shredded. Due to Darius' cleanup ability though, Guardian Angel can be a game changer, and it's your final item to buy. As far as whether to buy the armor or magic resist while finishing it is purely based on what the opposing team is dealing. Any gold that you have after Guardian Angel should be put towards an elixir of iron. This is going to give you tenacity, which can save you during the last team fight. Just for a quick recap, you start off with your flask, 3 health pots, and your vision trinket. At your first back, buy your pickaxe. Your second back, try to get your Tiamat. After that, get your boots and enchant them with alacrity. Then buy your phage. After that, buy your sheen. Then buy your zeal. Finish Trinity Force at this point. Then buy your Ravenous Hydra. Upgrade your trinket. Buy Randuin's Omen. Get Banshee's Veil. Then finish your items with a Guardian Angel. This is going to leave you with these 6 items as your final build. Any gold past these 6 items, buy elixirs of iron with. Let's go over Darius' pros and cons real quick. For Darius, his pros are his high damage, his dual potential, his massive cleanup potential, and his survivability. It's very common for a Darius who lost lane to be able to dunk his way back into the game. So even when Darius is camped and he's a little behind, he can still be a big threat to any team. Now when Darius does well during laning phase and he walks into late game ahead, he simply cannot be ignored. If he's left alone to attack your carries, he's going to kill everybody. And even without a heavily tanky build, Darius with low health can still be an amazing duelist. Because of everything mentioned, Darius is easily one of the most underrated champions in League of Legends right now, and he's by far one of the most enjoyable characters to play, with easily the most satisfying ultimate available. As far as Darius' cons, he has no gap closers or movement speed increases, so he's incredibly susceptible to ganks without flash during laning. The other major drawback to Darius is that he's not a hard carry. If your team does not commit to fights, you'll find yourself with no way out and a gray screen. That sums up the basic itemization path, as well as pros and cons for Darius. If you missed something in the buy order, you can see it in the video description below. Note that this is a standard build path, and it will vary slightly against different lane opponents. In the next video, we'll start to go over matchups, and the first matchup will be Darius versus Gnar. Like, comment, and subscribe for more of the League of Legends matchup series. Thank you for watching.
You gotta see the whole court.
An ally has been slain. Enemy double kill. Shut down.